What's going on, guys? Thank you for joining the Tully broadcast. So in today's video, I got my reoccurring special guest, Liam. And like I said before in my last video, we're doing pretty much our last mock draft. I mean, we're only 2 days away, not even under 2 days away. So this is pretty much our last mock draft before the actual draft actually happens. And like me and Liam said before, we're going to do a little bit of a competition. So who's ever more accurate, maybe we'll throw a couple bucks on it. Whoever's more accurate wins the money or something like that. But yeah, Liam, you got anything to say before we start this off?
Yeah, this is something we've done the past couple of years just on our own for fun. So it's kind of cool to share it with some people. And especially like last year, it was just the start of quarantine and we were all like, oh my God, what am I going to do? We watched like every pick of the NFL draft.
Yeah.
So like ever since then, I've been a little more like, I've liked it a little more. I've never watched past like the third round until last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to I'll watch all of our picks, right? I'll watch the 6 rounds, but after that, I might not watch the 7th round. I'm sorry, I might just not.
It's nice to see the Mr. Irrelevant too, just so you can like know who he is.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. We had him, and he scored the game-winning touchdown for us. So
yeah,
take Crawford. All right, cool. So yeah, let's go into this. Obviously, so as we see before, I've done this sort of similar setup before, where I have me on the left right here. This is my screen. I don't know if you can see my mice, but this is mine. This is gonna be my mock draft. And on the right, this is Liam's mock draft. So he's gonna be telling me who he wants to pick, and then I'll pick it for him. Obviously, I'm gonna start off, and I'm gonna go with someone who had this going for a whole year. Everyone does. Trevor Lawrence. That's gonna be the pick. I mean, you want me to do the same thing for you?
Yep.
All right, perfect.
Absolutely. I don't really think I like that they came out and said like, yeah, we like looked at Justin Fields and Zach Wilson too, but we were like, yeah, we just wanted to see if anything, like just check our other options. So they just sound like they're taking him on. No complaints.
Yeah, no, and I also like the little piece of information where they're like, oh, his dad said that he's not a winning quarterback or whatever. It's like,
right.
Shut up.
And like Dabo said that like, oh, he'll be fine in like life after football. And they're like, does he love football? It's like, dude, you're trying so hard to make like just come up with any story.
I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it entertaining, but like, come on, help me out here.
It's not. It's just not.
It's dumb. All right, on to the second pick. So I'm gonna go with Zach Wilson. I heard from Todd McShay on the Part of My Take podcast that the Jets have actually like just told him outright, yeah, we're drafting Zach Wilson. So I mean that's pretty set in stone for me. Do you feel the same? Yeah,
I heard they like kind of stopped communicating with other quarterbacks after like some initial go-throughs as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like they're locked in on him, and I don't really know if I like it, but he has a lot of talent. But like I heard something the other day, like his split between like playing like top 50 in the country defenses, he was like 2-9 with like his threw more interceptions than touchdowns, and like it's gonna get tougher when he has to face like really, really good defenses and dissect things. Like everyone can go beat up on whoever he's playing in BYU's BS out west schedule, but like even playing like Arkansas, like he wasn't that good.
Yeah,
so, we'll see though. He's got talent.
He does have talent. He is definitely interesting. I mean, maybe you could even point to the fact that like he's 2-9, but it's a team sport. I mean, maybe he is on BYU. Like I name his wide receiver. I don't know it.
But
like I don't know.
They did have the best graded offensive lineman and a top 5 offensive line like rated in the country last year.
Really?
Yeah, and they're like, wow, look how good he is against pressure. It's like, well, he doesn't face pressure, so like.
So call me Cap then. All right. So on to the next pick, and I think this might be where me and Liam differ because we were talking about this before. I am going Mac Jones, and I guess I have to. Really, I have to look him up. He's not even on like the top. Yeah, okay, here we go. Mac Jones. I'm gonna go with Mac Jones on that one. And now there has been reports that, and I'm surprised by this, and I think it's a bad pick, but there has been reports that Kyle Shanahan said that he likes Mac Jones, and like that's his guy. And the organization likes Trey Lance a little more. But if you're the organization, like how can you really go against your head coach, who's also like the supposed quarterback guru slash like, really great coach in general, offensive mind coach. So I think it's gonna be kind of tough for them. I think it's gonna be Mac Jones, and again, I think it's a strange pick in general. I've said it before why I don't like him. I don't think this is gonna be a good idea for the Niners. But let's see what happens. What do you think, Liam?
I like switched to Mac Jones after the thing yesterday where like they asked him if Jimmy G was going to be on the roster. He was like, "Yeah, I don't even know if we're all going to be alive, so I can't tell you if he's going to be on the roster."
Yeah, that was absurd.
So I was just like, "All right, so he's not going to be on the roster," which means you're not drafting Trey Lance because the only way you draft Trey Lance is to sit behind someone for a year. So they want someone who's ready. If you want someone who's ready to be mediocre, you go Mac Jones, and that's who I think they're going to go with.
Fair enough. I agree with you as well. And we talked about this before. I think it's tough. I think that, it kind of sucks for the kid and why I don't like him. But I just don't like him because he's been in that system where it's like everyone is good. Like Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle were his two wide receivers, and those guys are arguably going to be top 10 picks. They're for sure going to be top 15 picks. Like, and he has Najee Harris, who's a first-round running back probably, and a top offensive line. So it's an amazing defense. So it's just like, I feel like I could be a good quarterback on that system, to be totally honest with you. Like, I think it's kind of tough.
And the other thing is, like, everyone was knocking him for, like, well, the thing that Kyle Shanahan I don't think really likes about Jimmy G is he tries to do all, like, this bootleg stuff and move the pocket stuff, and Jimmy G's not that athletic. And, like, Mac Jones didn't look athletic, but then he had all his, like, pro day numbers. People were like, you know what? He's more athletic than you think. But, like a 40 time doesn't make you athletic, and, like, all that stuff doesn't make you athletic. It's, like, how you actually play, and he doesn't play athletic. He plays like he's in a wheelchair. Like, he plays like a 2005 starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you look at his pictures when he's like shirtless and everything, he's smoking that cigar. Like, again, like, I'll go back. Like, I'm not in great shape, but like, I feel like I'm in better shape than he is. To be totally honest with you, and he's gonna be a
sure. He looks terrible. He looks terrible.
Yeah, it was horrendous. But I mean, like, it goes back to the combine information, the 40 number 2, like all that stuff. I think is always crap. Like, because this is the one thing Dave Gettleman I like a lot about him is he says like it's the underwear Olympics. I mean, he's right. Like, they truly are just like stupid. I don't really think it matters that much, to be totally honest with you. But again, I agree with you. I just don't think he's gonna be a good quarterback in general.
Yeah, the combine numbers like definitely matter more for other positions.
Yes,
but
not
Mac Jones's 40 time is something that I never really was gonna care about.
Yeah, and then even also like the throw when they throw the ball too with the combine, it's like yes, is that good? Like, do you want to see him throw a ball? Sick, but like it's not in coverage. He's facing no pressure. Like, so
no pads on.
Yeah, it's like to a certain point, like it's kind of ridiculous looking at it. Like it's really not like most of those guys all can kind of do it. That's why they're there. That's why they're like in these top programs because they can throw the ball. So I mean, it's kind of stupid when you think about it. But on to the next pick, I'm going Kyle Pitts here, and again, I'm going Kyle Pitts because the Falcons have came out and they said that they like Kyle Pitts, like they've fallen in love with him. He seems to be the top guy. I also saw a report today that the Falcons are thinking about trading away Julio Jones. They're taking calls from stuff like that. So this might be their new Julio Jones. He's kind of a huge, big, stocky, built player. Roughly the same size as Julio Jones. I know they play two different positions, and Julio Jones probably faster. But this could be the new Julio Jones, and I think that's a good pick for them.
Yeah, this was like the first pick that was actually kind of hard for me. I thought about Trey Lance because I feel like this is the perfect situation for him, right? Like everyone's saying he needs to sit for a year or two. Like Matt Ryan's probably got a couple of years left. He's a good quarterback. Like it would be the perfect place for someone like Trey Lance to go. Kyle Pitts, everyone thinks is the best non-quarterback in the draft. And then with the reports that they're moving on from Julio Jones, like would you have had like great success with wide receivers in the past, especially first round wide receivers. Like, do you go Jamar Chase and have that as your new duo with Calvin Ridley? Like it was a lot to think about. And I landed on Trey Lance.
Okay.
Because quarterback's the most important position, and the quarterback class for next year I've heard is awful. Yeah. So I think if you're gonna need a guy, this is a good situation for him to go to. You can sit on Matt Ryan for another year. The longer his contract goes on, the less it's going to be to, like move on from him. So I don't feel fantastic about it, but I think Trey Lance is a solid pick for them.
I think it's a good pick. I guess you never really know. I would definitely be interested to see what happens with that. It does, but that is a perfect situation for him because he can be, he would have zero pressure starting, and he probably wouldn't even start. Definitely within like the first couple of weeks of the season. So I think that'd be a good spot for him to land. I think he'd be super excited. And also due to the fact that he'd have guys like Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones to throw to and like learn behind and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's a good pick. On this next pick, and I've said it before, I've been pretty consistent with like who I think my top 5 are going to be. I think this is a bad pick by the Bengals because I'm going to go with Jamar Chase here. So now, is Jamar Chase probably wide receiver one? I agree. Yes, he probably is. But I think with Jamar Chase, doesn't do what Penei Sewell will do for that team as far as protecting Joe Burrow. I mean, like, Jesus, you saw Joe Burrow. Like, there were pictures in the first couple of weeks of him playing like the Eagles and stuff like that, and he was getting murdered. Like, he was getting bent backwards. So, I mean, I just think that this is a bad pick as far as, like, yes, you want wide receivers, you want weapons. I get that, and you can get that chemistry going between Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow again. But I think it's a bad pick because they need to get an offensive lineman that can actually freaking protect Joe Burrow so he's not running for his life. And a guy like Penei Sewell, who supposedly has Hall of Fame potential, that would be the best pick for me at that position. But the reason why, and I said it before, the Eagles wanted Jamar Chase. I'll just do a quick rendition of this. The Eagles wanted Jamar Chase. They weren't going to get Jamar Chase because they knew Penei Sewell was going to. The Eagles wanted Jamar Chase, but they knew that Jamar Chase was going to get picked by the Bengals, and they traded down with the Dolphins to 12, and that's why they did that. So I mean that makes a lot of sense to me too. And if the Eagles got screwed out of Jamar Chase, I would laugh my ass off because we are pro Giants here. But yeah, I mean, it just makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'm going the same pick. I think it's Penei Sewell too. Like Joe Burrow, as much as he pushes for them.
Oh, you
to
think
be
it's Penei
like,
Sewell?
what?
You think it's Penei Sewell?
Yeah.
Okay, then we disagree. I went Jamar Chase.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Joe Burrow is just gonna like push and push and push for it to be Jamar Chase, and they're gonna be like, yeah, Joe, like it'd be really cool for you to throw to Jamar Chase, but like if we don't have an offensive line, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So like organizationally, like you gotta be like, listen, Joe, we gotta do what's best for the team and what's best for you. And I've heard from people that he's like the best offensive lineman rated since like Zach Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. So like in the past few drafts, like he's just such an otherworldly talent. And like you have decent receivers there. You got T. Higgins and you got Tyler Boyd, and they got a couple other playmakers. So I think what they'll do, this is just like something cute that I heard, is be like, yo, Joe, we're gonna take Penei Sewell. You want to throw to your buddies? We'll get you Terrence Marshall out of LSU in the second round.
That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea at all. And again, I would think that would be a good pick. That's a good pick if they could take Penei Sewell. I would be shocked again. Like the Eagles got screwed like that. Like I would find that hilarious if they got screwed at picking Jamar Chase, who they said they wanted. But yeah, I mean, I could definitely buy the Penei Sewell going there and actually doing this now. So now I'm in the situation where like my situation, I have Penei Sewell going to 6 now, but I don't know if I wanted to go to the Dolphins or not. Like I don't really know the state of the Miami Dolphins like offensive line, but I just feel like Penei Sewell is too good of an offensive tackle to give up on, like to pass. I feel like uncomfortable taking him here because I know they probably also want wide receivers as well. But I'm gonna go with Penei Sewell to the Dolphins. I'm gonna go with Penei Sewell to the Dolphins. Yeah. So who are you going here then?
Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And I think like I still have Kyle Pitts on my board.
Wow.
And yeah, I think like the Dolphins are gonna be like, wow, like I really want to take Kyle Pitts, but like we have Mike Gesicki, who's like pretty good and like a very similar player to Kyle Pitts in a lot of respects. But what you're really looking at when you're the Dolphins is like, what did Tua excel at with Alabama? Like hitting crossing route, fast receivers over the middle, guys who create a ton of separation. And right now they just have like a bunch of jump ball receivers. Like Devontae Parker and Preston Williams are both like contested catch, go up and get it guys. And like they're awesome, but you can't have so many of that same guy. You saw that used to be the problem with Cam on the Panthers, and that used to be the problem with Josh Allen up in Buffalo when they had Kelvin Benjamin. But like getting these fast guys for those intermediate routes, that's what Tua is great at, is like timing and stuff. And I think that the Dolphins are like a really smart organization, and they're not going to go for like, they're both shiny toys, but just like, oh, like it'd be so cool to have Kyle Pitts. Like he's such a mismatch problem. Like Jamar Chase is too. And then you can get Jamar Chase. Like Devontae Parker's your wide receiver too is awesome. And I just think he's like locked and loaded to go to Miami there if the Bengals don't take him, which I don't really think is going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think that'd be really interesting. I can see that happening as well. Yes, I mean I can definitely buy that. Now on to the Lions. The Lions pick is pretty interesting for me as well because they need a wide receiver. Because I actually just remembered that Marvin Jones Jr. is on the team either. So they lost Kenny Galladay and they lost Marvin Jones Jr. and they have no wide receivers now. Like I don't know who's the number one wide receiver now.
Danny Amendola retired, I think.
Yeah, probably. So I have no. So they are like lacking the wide receiver department. I don't because I definitely think they're probably in a rebuilding year, sort of. And I hate drafting wide receivers in order for a rebuild. But I just think they have such like no wide receivers at all. They need to get some kind of guy like this. So I'm going to take Jalen Waddle, out of Alabama for them because I think they need to have some kind of wide receiver in order to be relevant and to be like to build their wide receiver room in general.
Yeah. I have the same thought process. I'm going Devonta Smith though.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, Kyle Pitts is falling, but now you come to a team with TJ Hawkinson. I think I'm going Devonta Smith just because I think like the new head coach is like a certified meathead. And he's gonna be like, yo, the guy who won the Heisman is on the board at pick 7. Like, dude, we're getting a steal.
Yeah.
Like, I just think he's like an absolute meathead. And Devonta Smith is a great receiver too. I don't really know. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, I think they go Devonta Smith just because like their head coach is a meathead and their front office is kind of dumb.
I like that. I like the logic of he's a Heisman, bro. How does he fall into us right now? I mean, I could see that happening. I think that's pretty funny. All right, so now on to pick 8 with Carolina Panthers. Again, going back to listening to the Part of My Take podcast, I was listening to them, and that Todd McShay, who again is a huge inside reporter, has tons and tons of guys on the inside that he knows in the NFL. He had said that the big surprise of the year might be that Carolina takes a quarterback here. I would be personally shocked if you told me honestly what Carolina did. That would make literally no sense to me. But to go on from here, I think 2 things are probably going to happen. I think either right now, because again, we can't do trades because I don't have the premium version. I apologize. But I actually think the Patriots are going to move up. So we'll do what we did when I was doing the podcast with Austin and Paul last time. We'll act like this pick 8 is the Patriots pick. So I'm going to act like, I want to double check everyone. I'm going to act like this is the Patriots pick. The Patriots have swapped picks, first round picks with Carolina, and I'm going to act like this is the Patriots pick. And I'm going to take Justin Fields. So the Patriots, New England Patriots traded Carolina, and they take Justin Fields with that pick. What do you think?
Okay. I like that. I could see Detroit trading with the Broncos in the previous pick we just talked about, and the Broncos going up and get Justin Fields. But I don't know, for the sake of like trying to get more picks right than you, trying to predict trades is typically not the right way to do that.
Yeah.
So I have Kyle Pitts on my board. Their offense would be absolutely disgusting with Kyle Pitts. DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Pitts. Like, give Sam Darnold another weapon. He kind of liked using Chris Herndon when Chris Herndon was on the field for the Jets. So, I mean, Kyle Pitts, your fall is over, buddy. You're going to a pretty good team, I think, with a good up-and-coming coach. And I think that offense is going to be scary. I do like the Justin Fields trade up, though, for the Patriots. I heard that it's going to be a lot of teams just don't want to trade up this year. Everybody wants to trade down. So I just don't think there's going to be a ton of trades that make a lot of sense for teams.
I could see that. I could totally see that as well. It makes sense to me. Yeah, I mean, that would be a crazy pick if they can get Kyle Pitts. That would make that offense so dynamic, to be totally honest with you. All right, so now on to the next pick here with the Denver Broncos. And to me personally, Drew Lock's not the guy. I don't really see what they need offensively, to be totally honest with you. I think they have everything pretty well covered offensively. Now, you could say that their cornerback situation's maybe a little suspect as far as, did they get Kendall Fuller? Is that where he went? Yeah, right?
He is. No, it says he's on the Washington football team.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's scary. Well, anyway, so, I mean, I think he's I think they definitely need a corner in general, and you do obviously have guys like J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain on the board right here, but I also think they need Trey Lance. I'm going to go with they need Trey Lance because they need a quarterback, and quarterback's the guy. Now, you're right, though. This would not be the best situation for Trey Lance in general because he needs to sit for a little bit, and if he's in a room with, with what's doing Drew Lock, he's not sitting. He's probably going to start within the first couple weeks. So I don't know how good this would be for his career in general, but I think the Broncos need to get a quarterback and they need to fix that situation because they have a great offense. They have great wide receivers. They have a really, really good young tight end. I think their offensive line's pretty okay. So they have guys like that. And I think this would be the best pick for them at quarterback because they need to fix the situation. It's not working there with Drew Lock.
Yeah, I completely agree. Drew Lock is kind of, I heard like a comp, and I read like this article about a comparison between Zach Wilson and Drew Lock in college, and they're very startlingly close.
Yeah.
And I hope that's how it ends up for the Jets, to be honest. But I have Justin Fields still on my board. John Elway's not the GM, so it's not going to just be a super tall, bad white quarterback.
Yep.
And I really hope the best for him. I like him a lot, and like he got slandered a lot in this draft process, where I think he just had a great season. So I think they go Justin Fields. I think it's kind of a no-brainer for them. You can call it a competition, but Drew Lock has no business starting over Justin Fields week one. You got to see what you got in Justin Fields.
I like that pick a lot, and I'd definitely be excited for the kid because, again, I am a fan of him. I think he's a good player in general. Okay, so on to the next pick now with the Dirty Cowboys. Who are they taking here? So my two things that I've been pretty, stern on is I think the Cowboys really, really, really need a cornerback. I think they're dying at cornerback. Their defense in general just sucks in general for some reason. It's been so bad. So especially their defensive backs. So I think the best pick would be between J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain. My pick would be J.C. Horn. But I also would not be surprised if Jerry Jones takes Rashawn Slater here at all. Like, I would not be surprised at all because the guy likes offense and their off the line is getting a little worse in general. So I kind of want to take Rashawn Slater just because they're dumb. I don't think it's the right pick, but I think they should. I think he would take Rashawn Slater.
Right. Yeah, the Cowboys. I think Jerry Jones. Like I have Kyle Pitts falling to number 8, and I think Jerry Jones is going to be like going into cardiac arrest, trying to trade up to take Kyle Pitts because he has been doing nothing but just like, I don't know a non-bad way to say it on YouTube, but he really, really, really likes Kyle Pitts.
Yes.
And I don't think he's going to end up being able to trade up. I think the Carolina Panthers are going to take him. But Patrick Surtain to the Cowboys, cornerback, they need defensive help. And he's a good corner. He's the safe one. And he's got more speed than J.C. Horn, which I think is going to be really good for the Cowboys secondary and defense that seems to be playing a lot of catch up at times.
Yeah.
Like they had a lot of blown coverages and stuff last year. So I think Patrick Surtain is probably a little more pro-ready than J.C. Horn and played in Alabama as a little more complex offense. I think Jerry Jones just likes Alabama players probably. It's a little more safe, and you go Patrick Surtain if you're taking a corner at 10.
All right, it's Patrick Surtain. Okay, so now on to the big pick. Me and Liam are both Giant fans, obviously me. So here we're going to go with who are they going to pick here? And like I said before, in my last video I did yesterday, the Giants, the organization split into 3. They like Joe Judge likes Devontae Smith. Gettleman likes Micah Parsons, which I'm surprised about, to be totally honest with you. And the organization as a whole likes J.C. Horn. All 3 of those players are on the board. And to be totally honest with you, I think it's going to be Devontae Smith. I do. I think it's going to be Devontae Smith because, and it's not going to be Micah Parsons. I would like Micah Parsons the most, though. I think the guy is an absolute stud, but I don't see us going Micah Parsons just solely the reason that we drafted Devontae Baker like 2 years ago, and that didn't end up well, and he had off-the-field issues. Now we're going to draft another guy with a super high pick who has off-the-field issues, and if he doesn't pan out well, it's going to look like a really, really bad look for the organization and the team and the, in the front office in general. So I don't see them wanting to risk the biscuit on that and going Micah Parsons there. Also, Dave Gettleman has before said he loves Devontae Smith as well. So then you have 2 people out of 3 who love Devontae Smith, and I think it would make this team really good as far as our weapons would be unstoppable. Also, Sterling Shepard, you can get rid of him next year because he's going to be a 10-year. He's going to save us $10 million. So, I mean, that would be another good thing as well. And you could have guys like Devontae Smith, Sterling Shepard, Kenny Golladay, Darius Slayton. And Devontae Smith brings something to this offense that it doesn't have, which is a separator against, coverage in general. Because Devontae Smith, he's great at running routes, whereas Kenny Golladay is more of like a 50-50 kind of wide receiver, and Sterling Shepard is more of like a slot guy, and Darius Slayton's just kind of like a speed guy in general. So it would add something to this offense that would make Daniel Jones really happy.
Right, yeah. I don't know. I think like Joe Judge doesn't even call the plays. Like I don't think he's making draft selections.
Really?
No. It's I mean, I'm sure he has a say for sure, but he doesn't overrule anybody. This is Gettleman's pick.
Okay.
I want to take Rashawn Slater, but I think he could be a bust, honestly. I've heard like a lot of very different things coming out about him. He's very like technically good at this point, but I'm not sure he has like that much room for improvement, which I don't love. So, I mean, I just want to swing for the fences here and get what I think is the best defensive player in the draft and take Micah Parsons. There's culture guys, there's not culture guys. Like we all saw, like it's the 40th anniversary of the Giants drafting Lawrence Taylor. Potentially not the best culture guy, but the best player we've ever had and maybe the best NFL player outside of Tom Brady of all time. I just think he's the best player on the board. And like the Giants, like people on Giants Twitter saying like, I'm just going to get a little deeper in this because it's the Giants, but people were saying like, oh, draft a cornerback. Like, you don't know what the cornerback's going to look like a couple years down the road with Bradbury and stuff. And it's like whoa. We don't even have good linebackers right now. And who knows what the linebackers are going to look like a couple years down the road. Martinez, he's our middle linebacker, not Micah Parsons, but he's getting old, right? In 2 years, we have our 4 other linebackers are going to be up for new contracts. How many of those 4 are going to be re-signed with the Giants?
And how many of them are really that good in general anyway?
Correct, which is why I think we need to take Micah Parsons, but I don't know. We'll I think the Giants kind of start the trend of I don't know who the hell they're going to take. And I hope we take Micah Parsons. I think it'd be a good pick, and that's just where I'm going to hedge my bets.
I totally agree with you. And to be honest with you, I think Micah Parsons would be like a top 5 pick in this NFL draft if he didn't have off the field issues. I think he's an absolute stud. And where we are right now in the draft, I'm pretty happy with any of those 3 players I've mentioned before, J.C. Horn, Micah Parsons, or Devontae Smith. I'd be most happy with Micah Parsons. I'd be second happy, a really close second with Devontae Smith, and I'd be content with J.C. Horn. That's my opinion.
Since I have Rashawn Slater still on my board, where does he fit in there for you amongst those 3? Where would you?
I would probably put him over Devontae Smith. I would love to have Rashawn Slater because I like our offensive line is good, right? But there's a lot of question marks, and especially at the guard position, and that's where a lot of people have Rashawn Slater playing in the NFL just due to the fact he has small arms. And again, when we had, it's a boomer move, but when we had Eli, right? When Eli had Odell Beckham and Saquon Barkley in some of the prime, like Saquon was balling out this rookie year, and Odell was healthy, doing well as well. We still sucked, and why do we still suck? Because we had no offensive line. Everyone wants to get weapons. Everyone wants to do this and that. But if you don't have an offensive line to block for the quarterback, your weapons don't mean shit. And that's my biggest fear, to be totally honest with you, and that's why I would love to get off the line this draft.
It's the same thing as the Joe Burrow thing that we were just talking about. Let's get into the Eagles.
Yeah, I agree with you. So now on to the Eagles, and I think the Eagles, I mean, obviously, like their number one, which is wide receiver, tight end, and then cornerback, as you look at their needs according to this mock draft simulator. I obviously tight end and wide receivers didn't really fall to them in mine as far as all of them are gone. So I think the only one that makes most sense to me would be to take Patrick Surtain here. I think he's a great player. Obviously, we were saying before. I think that you don't want to rebuild with a kind of a player like a wide receiver or a tight end, to be totally honest with you, and they are in definitely a rebuild year. You want to get a stud corner that they don't have at all. They have no corners, and their defensive backs suck. So you want to get like a kind of guy that's a very young cornerback that can cover all parts of the field and is a great zone guy in general. What is your opinion?
Yeah. I mean, I like that pick. I still have Jalen Waddle on my board. That's been the thing for the Eagles for a while, is no one on their team can catch. I believe Jalen Waddle can catch, and I think they want someone who can catch. So I think the Eagles are going to take Jalen Waddle. I can see them taking a corner. I just don't really think J.C. Horn is good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to throw him up there yet. He's definitely going to go somewhere in the first round. I just don't think he's that good. And I think the Eagles, like, if Jalen Waddle's there and they don't take him, that would be very weird.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I would totally agree with you. And honestly, for the Giants in general, I would be surprised if the Giants I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Waddle in your situation is there. I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants took Jalen Waddle either. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a good pick in general too. Okay, now on to the Chargers. And to me, the Chargers have one need, and that's linemen. They need to protect Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is an absolute stud. The kid is going to be really good. I loved him as a quarterback coming out. He wanted to do another year at college, but he was going to come out and I was so excited for him to be our quarterback for the Giants, but he didn't come to us. And then watching him play just in primetime games against like the Raiders, who was a division rival, and him just killing it. This kid is a baller, and you need to protect him. So obviously, I'm going to go with Christian Darrisaw here. I can also see Elijah Vera Tucker, but I mean, I'm not really sure as far as who's the better one. I'm just going to go with Christian Darrisaw because he's the number one guy. He's a higher rated guy on this board right here. I think that's the best pick for them. It's just getting off the line.
Yeah, I'm also going offensive line. I'm just going Rashawn Slater. It's a layup, I think, there for the Chargers.
Yeah.
He's still on the board. It's a good pick. They need to go lineman, protect Justin Herbert, and should be good.
No,
they got
great.
Did they get the Packers center too, right?
Ooh,
like, I don't. Lindsley or whatever.
I'm not exactly sure, to be totally honest with you.
I think they did.
Corey Lindsley's his name, right, or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me look that up. Corey Lindsley. Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah.
He's been like an All-Pro, I think, a couple times, Pro Bowler. So that's a good piece for the offensive line. Add something on the outside with Slater.
Yeah.
It's looking better over there.
It's that team again. I love the Chargers, and we play in the Chargers, and I am afraid of them. I'm really afraid of them, especially if we play at the end of the year when they start to figure out when they start meshing. I think they're a great team. Okay, so now on to the next pick, and I think personally, I've seen this before. I have a lot of people have Kwity Paye going to the Vikings because they want to start rebuilding that defensive line. They want to get that defensive line to be more of a stud than it was before. So I'm going to go with Kwity Paye here. I've seen him mocked here a lot, to be totally honest with you. I would not be surprised by that.
Okay. I'm kind of like between two minds here with this pick. They need a lot. So I have J.C. Horn and Christian Darrisaw down as the two places I think they're going to go. I think they'll go J.C. Horn.
Okay.
I don't think their offensive line is that good, but like Dalvin Cook ran wild, and their offense wasn't really the problem.
Yeah, so, it's really just that defense the problem.
Right. And I think this is like so much better of a corner draft than it is like an edge rusher draft or anything.
I agree.
So you just when your defense is that bad, you just got to take the best defensive player. Like you have Pat Peterson, but he's playing in like a wheelchair out there. That's really your only good corner. Let him mentor J.C. Horn and go crazy.
I agree, and I think that'd be a good pick in general. Okay, so now on to my pick, and as you guys remember before, Carolina Panthers are up for me because I have the Patriots switching first-round picks to the Carolina Panthers. So this is the Carolina Panthers drafting, and personally, I think he's too good to pass up on anymore. It's going to be Micah Parsons here for me. I understand they probably need an offensive line, and they probably need a little more help with that offense for Carolina, but I just don't really know much about Tevin Jenkins. I don't really know how good he is. I do know that their defense for Carolina is not that great either, and adding a guy like Micah Parsons would be an absolute stud for that team, and I think that'd be a great move by them.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good pick. I'm picking for the Patriots here, so we're kind of on separate terms. Yeah. I'm gonna go Greg Newsome. He's a corner out of Northwestern.
Ooh.
Has the same exact birthday as me, which is pretty cool. He's 20 years old right now, about to be 21. He's a good player, and you know Bill Belichick, how he feels about cornerbacks. You saw they were trying to deal Stephon Gilmore at the end of last year.
Yep.
So I think they're looking for like new, fresh, young corners. Belichick went and got a lot of like linemen and linebackers in free agency this year. So good young corners are hard to come by. It's a great corner draft. Kid can run. Kid can cover. It seems smart. He goes Northwestern. He's probably pretty smart. I think that's just where Belichick's going to go. We know how much he values corners, and I think it's a pretty good pick.
I think I do agree with you. If there's no quarterbacks, if they stay at 15, and obviously there probably is going to be no quarterbacks left, I think that is definitely where they're going to go is corner, especially with all the Stephon Gilmore trade rumors and stuff like that in the past. And you're right. Corner is probably one of the most important positions. I'm a little surprised you didn't when you have Caleb Farley on your board. How do you feel about that?
I actually think Caleb Farley is the best corner in the draft.
Okay.
But like in the COVID offseason where like they can't actually meet any of the players, and he's had, I think, their back problems that he keeps having. Like a lot of teams have showed concern about that. I think if his back problems clear up, he'll be the best corner in the draft. But I don't know if teams are really willing to take that risk in the first round in a year where they can't like have him in their facility, get him checked out, see him in person and all that.
Yeah.
So I think he's just a little bit of a riskier pick this year. In other years, and Greg Newsome, it just seems like a Belichick player, like out of Northwestern, like just classic Belichick.
Yeah, I agree with you. He does seem like some kind of like low under the radar guy that everyone's like, who the hell is that? But oh, it's Bill Belichick. Could probably be good. So yeah, that's a good pick. And it's actually a pretty interesting pick and a bold pick as well. You're not just going with like one of the top guys on the board. Okay, so on to mine. So everything you said about Caleb Farley is why I'm taking J.C. Horn. I think this is a clear pick for the Falcons, or the Cardinals. They really do need to get a corner, especially losing a guy like Pat Pete. And it's one of the probably weaker parts of their team right now. I mean, they have guys like Deion Jones, and they have J.J. Watt as a pass rusher, so they're pretty good as far as that goes. And then just their secondary, they had Budda Baker, right, but they don't really have a great corner. And I think adding a guy like J.C. Horn would be great. I do kind of agree with you a little bit on Caleb Farley. I think he's a top guy, but I think a lot of teams are going to be nervous about him just due to the fact that you're right, that they couldn't see him and they couldn't like really like fully inspect like how good his back and stuff like that is.
Yeah, for me, this is Christian Darrisaw. Like they couldn't run the ball last year, which was a big problem. And Darrisaw is good in pass protection, good against the run, or good for the run. And like Kenyon Drake, he's not a world beater, but he's like a football player. And that's what most running backs are. Like they're going to get what's blocked for them and then maybe a little more. Mm-hmm. Like they need to block for their running back. And Kenyon Drake's moved on now. I think that they need an offensive lineman. I wanted to go linebacker for them because I don't think they've even figured out what they have in Isaiah Simmons yet.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to kind of take their chances for another year since he was like the 4th overall pick or something, the 3rd or something last year, 5th. I don't know.
He was, I think he was like the 7th.
7th, okay. So, yeah, they got to figure that out with him, but I think you got to go offensive line here. You got to start giving Kyler time and your running backs a way to get more than 3 yards a carry.
I do agree with you. So sadly, I don't really have any offensive linemen that I feel great with for them, but I would agree with you. I definitely think that would probably be the best pick for them if you have a guy like Darrisaw that falls to them. Yeah, you're right. They don't really have any offensive line in general. They're pretty bad. Okay, so now on to the Raiders. And the Raiders apparently have split it up into pretty two different categories. It's either an offensive line that we like, falls to us, or we got to get a defensive player. So me, to be totally honest with you, I don't know why Vera Tucker is so lowly ranked, but I think Vera Tucker is probably the better player here over Tevin Jenkins. And I'm going to go with Vera Tucker from USC. They definitely need offensive line after losing guys like Rodney Hudson, I believe is the guy's name, and they lost a couple other guys on the offensive line, and they need to protect for Derek Carr or Mariota. I don't know who the quarterback is there, but they need more time. They need protection. So I'm going to go with Vera Tucker.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I think they're going defensive players, and we saw last year they are certainly with the Henry Ruggs pick. Like John Gruden has a dude too. They're just no risk it. Like, you got to risk it for the biscuit franchise.
Yep.
So I think Caleb Farley, he's just too talented to keep letting fall. He's so fast. He's so quick. He's so good in coverage. He's just a great, great corner. Mm-hmm. And I think like John Gruden's going to be like, oh yeah, like I'll take him here and I got one over on everybody. And I think it's a really good pick if he pans out. And I hope he does, but I just see the Raiders doing something like that. And they need defensive help.
Yeah. Yeah, they do need it. They do have a lot of problems with that defense in general. Okay, so now on to the Dolphins pick. And now the Dolphins pick is a little weird here, but I'm going to go with Jalen Phillips. Now, I think this is definitely a risky pick. As you see here, it's their second need is edge. So I definitely think this might be a risky pick, but because Jalen Phillips, the big thing that Jalen Phillips, he had I think he retired from football or something like that 2 years ago because he had such bad injuries. So, he's one bad injury away, or one concussion or one bad injury away from being retired again. So I think it's an interesting pick, but I definitely think it would make sense as far as the connection with Miami. He's right down the road. So yeah, I'm going to go with Jalen Phillips. He's too good of an edge to pass up on.
Yeah, I'm going with the guy out of Notre Dame, Jeremiah.
Okay.
I don't know how to say his last name, but I've from what I've heard about him, people don't exactly know what his position is. It's kind of a little bit like Isaiah Simmons last year, but he's an athlete. He's a great tackler, and I see like Brian Flores really like beating the table for someone like him. Brian Flores is super creative. He's going to figure out a way to use him how he should be used. And in like that kind of Patriot scheme where it's like a 3-4 kind of, like you can get away with those like versatile linebackers. I think he'd be perfect for that system, and he's a great player.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about him as well. They call him JOK. I think he's a great player as well. And yeah, I mean, I'm a big Notre Dame guy myself, so I think it's a great pick for them in general. Okay, now on to the Washington football team. To me, to be totally honest with you, I think this is offensive tackle. I think it's a pretty easy pick. As far as none of the quarterbacks have fallen to them, I know some people back before we heard all this stuff about Mac Jones falling, some people were like, oh, if Mac Jones falls, they'll try to get him. But I'm not going to – I don't think he's going to fall, obviously, as you see here. So I'm going to go with Tevin Jenkins. I think they need to have some help with that offensive line. And just try to protect like whoever their quarterback is going to be. I mean, I know they have Ryan Fitzpatrick, but they need to start giving some kind of protection in general.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. They just had the trade for Eric Flowers, which he's not going to. Yeah, I mean, I hope he's Giants Eric Flowers for them. Whoa. Yeah, I'm going with Jamin Davis, the linebacker out of Kentucky. Another like versatile guy. I read some stuff about like Ron Rivera saying like we just want someone who can come in and play now.
Yeah.
And I think he's like a perfect guy to come do that. He's like a very solid prospect. And again, he's like a pretty versatile player. I think he's just a good pick for them. He's solid. He can come in and contribute, and their offense seems set. I thought about going wide receiver, but they just paid Curtis Samuel, set at running back. Their O-line is decent. Like I think you got to go defensive player, and he's one of the ones who's just ready to come in and contribute day one to a team that wants to go win the NFC East.
Another really interesting pick out of nowhere. I would like that a lot. I heard also Daniel Jeremiah. He said that he thinks that this guy is his favorite player. That's not obviously one of the top, like, like Trevor Lawrence or whatever, but he's one of his favorite, like, low-key guys in his draft. So I think that'd be a really interesting pick. And linebacker is a need for them because, I mean, obviously, as we see, they have that stacked defensive line. But their linebackers, I think, are pretty slacking in that category. So I think that's a good pick. All right, now on to the Bears. And the Bears, I'm going to go with a guy named Rashard Bateman. Obviously, we've all heard him. He's a wide receiver. Now, I've seen some people have him connected to Rashard Bateman with the Bears, and I think this is a good pick for them. I think they need to get some kind of wide receiver. You don't know how long Allen Robinson is going to be there for. You have to try to get some kind of help for him. So I feel like that's going to be a good pick, especially because it's one of their big needs. I would like to see that happen.
Yeah, I really, really like Rashad Bateman. I think he's going to be a great player moving forward. And Rashad Bateman is like, he's just a freak athlete, and he'd be like a good pick for the Bears, I think. But I have the Bears taking Kellen Mond.
Ooh.
Yeah, you can't have Nick Foles and Andy Dalton and trying to be rebuilding. Kellen Mond has a lot of talent, and I think if he can kind of like go there and sit, they'd like to work with him. Andy Dalton's not your long-term future, and I think they go Kellen Mond.
Interesting pick. You're not seeing that. Some people have say that he might fall into the second, and maybe they take the Bears in the second. How do you think, from part of my take, how do you think Big Cat would feel? Because I know he always says that he's looking forward to seeing who the Bears overpick on a quarterback. Do you think this is an overpick, or do you think this is right where he belongs in the first round?
I think it's an overpick, and I think it's an overpick, but I think he'll get selected. If the Bears don't take him, he'll get selected at like the back end of the first round, just because everybody with those quarterbacks wants that like first round contract, so you can keep them for the extra year and stuff like that. It just makes a little bit more sense for me for them to take him here and not really like leave it up and try to trade back in at like 32 to get that next contract. Like, it's a quarterback. It's the most important position in football by far. Yeah, the Bears suck at this, but I think they're going to keep trying. And I think Kellen Mond's the pick.
All right, so now for me, a big pick for the Colts. I think that they need to get corner, and I would love to see Caleb Farley go to the Jets. I think that'd be a huge pick for my friend Austin, who loves the Jets, but I just think it's too much. The Colts definitely, it's their second biggest need according to this website, and I just think the Colts need to get a cornerback in general. To be totally honest with you, how are you feeling?
Right, yeah, they have like one of the most complete rosters in the NFL.
Yes.
So I think they're again just like taking whatever kind of player they want. I think they go Tevin Jenkins. You've seen how important that offensive line is to them, and it's important for them to like, keep it strong. And they love running the football. I think it'll be really interesting for them next year. But I think just like like you can't go wrong taking a tackle in the first round. You got Marlon Mack coming back, who's hopefully gonna steal some carries from Jonathan Taylor because you have him in our fantasy league. But like it's just you can't go wrong with a tackle, and I think the Colts are like a really smart organization who knows that. And Tevin Jenkins is a good player, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely going to be a good pick. Tevin Jenkins is a good offensive tackle. I like the Colts team in general. I think they've done it right. I think they've built right. Adding to that offensive line with Quentin Nelson would just be fantastic, and I think that'd be a really good pick for them. On to this next pick, and now I actually really disagree with this website. They have edge as like one of like the last things that the Titans need. I totally disagree. I think the Titans are dying for an edge rusher of some sort or some sort of outside linebacker. So I'm gonna go right here with JOK. I am between JOK and Azeez Ojulari, but I think JOK is probably a little bit better player, and I think he's also, like you had said before, an extremely versatile player, and that's exactly what these NFL franchises want is versatility. So I think they'd be a great pick by them.
Yeah, and I think like the people who really, really like those versatile edge linebacker hybrids are like one Belichick, and then like people who've learned from Belichick and kind of use his system. Like we're talking about Brian Flores before. Vrabel's another guy who kind of grew up in that system, and I think that's a really good pick. I'm going Kwity Paye.
Okay.
That defense was terrible last year, and the year before that it was really good. And I think one of the big differences was like having that edge presence. Like Jadeveon Clowney was really good 2 years ago for them. Like he didn't get like a ton of sacks and stuff, but like Chris Sims calls it like the fuck up the play stat.
Yeah.
And like Jadeveon Clowney does that a lot, where he just fucks up the play. He doesn't get the sack or the tackle, but he ruined the play.
Yeah.
And I think Kwity Paye's a guy that could do that for them and kind of bring a little bit of more of that presence. I'm not saying he's Jadeveon Clowney, but it's a good pick for them at 22, and it's something they need.
Yeah, especially Kwity Paye. I think he's a good player, and you have seen him mocked like even us at 11. So I mean, I wouldn't doubt that. So now for me, I think the Jets are really struggling at corner, and I see Greg Newsome on the board right here. I'm going to go with Greg Newsome. I think that'd be a great pick for them in general. They need a corner. I don't really like any of these other players. Like Azeez Ojulari, I don't really like too much. I'm a little worried about him, especially because I heard there were rumors that the Giants liked him. But I'm going to go with Azeez. I'm going to go with Greg Newsome. I think it's the best pick for them. I think they need a corner.
Yeah. I'm going Jalen Phillips here. And I just think the Jets defense, like, there's not a position that they could pass on defense and say, like, oh, you know what? We're good.
Yeah.
Like, they got to take just a player, and Jalen Phillips is good. He's athletic. He'll give the Jets something nice on the edge over there. And he's a great player, and I think that's where the Jets go.
I agree with you. I think that's a good pick in general. Okay, so now on to this next one. I feel like off the line is their biggest need. When I did this with Austin, then they said that they're going to take Najee Harris, who I wouldn't doubt that per se, but I think that off of the line is their biggest problem. They lost guys like Mike Pouncey. I think they need to off the line very badly. Even corner, they probably need two, but there obviously isn't good enough corner with the first, like I think like 4 now or 3 are off the board now. So I'm going to go with Alex Leatherwood. I mean, he's an absolute monster of an individual. He's huge. I know he's not a Mike Pouncey because Mike Pouncey, I believe, was the center, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's not that, but he does add to the offensive line to make it better. They also lost Villanueva as well, so I think that'd be a great pick for them.
Yeah. I'm going Elijah Vera Tucker.
Yep.
Just I agree. O-line. He's a good player. They need offensive line help. I've heard a lot about the Najee Harris thing. Like, I don't really believe it. I think the Steelers have like so much faith in themselves of drafting skill position players in the later rounds.
Yeah.
Like, you always hear about it with wide receivers, but I mean, Lev Bell, I think was like a 2nd or 3rd round pick. James Conner was a 3rd round pick. They do it with running backs too.
Yeah.
And I just don't see them taking Najee Harris, who runs like a 4.65 in the first round.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Najee Harris is a good guy, but I agree with you. I think it's the best pick for them. Okay, now on to the Jaguars. So the Jaguars, as it says here before, it says that they need offensive tackle, wide receiver, and safety. So I don't really see an offensive tackle here that I particularly like. But what I do see is the safety. I've heard a lot about this kid, this Trevon Moehrig kid. And wide receiver, I don't, again, there's not a wide receiver on the board that I like for them as well here. The thing is, I know there's probably guys like Elijah Moore is probably like a little bit down here who I do like. But the thing is, to me, to be totally honest with you, I just don't feel that these guys are great value for them, especially with their wide receivers. I like their wide receivers. I don't understand why it's their second need according to them. They have guys like Marvin Jones, or the 30. They have guys like Marvin Jones Jr. They have DJ Chark. So they have James Robinson, Tyler Eifert. So they have a lot of good players on that team. Keelan Cole's a solid wide receiver too. So I'm gonna go with Trevon Moehrig. I think they need to fix that defense, and safety is obviously a need for them.
Yeah, I saw like a lot of people mocking him to the Jags too. I don't know a lot about him, but a lot of people seem to like him. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go with your word there. I think that they're going to try to make the Jaguars, like, they're going to be like, you know what we need to do? Like, we need some fans. We need to make ourselves like an entertaining franchise. We need to put some weapons to make sure that Trevor Lawrence can succeed. And I think they go Rashad Bateman, who
Yeah.
shouldn't really be falling any further. He's just like a great player. Like, I like their wide receivers. Like, they're nothing to write home about. And if you're going to get Trevor Lawrence and you want him to spray the ball around the field, you go get him another weapon. And then you can go 4 wide with Chark, Chenault, Jones Jr., and Rashad Bateman. Like, that's a great place to be. So
Yeah.
I think that's what they do.
If Rashawn Bateman was there for me, I would also agree with you. I think actually my last mock draft I did with Austin Paul, I did go Rashawn Bateman there. So I think that's a good pick in general. I definitely think their wide receivers would be fantastic, and that would help Trevor out tremendously. All right, now on to the Browns. And as you see here, the Browns need a couple things. They need edge and need interior line. But to me, I think the best for them is they need to get this Christian Barmore kid. I've heard a lot about him. A lot of people like him. I'm very slept on this whole edge in general option. I don't really like the edges this year. I think this would be the best pick for them. And yeah, that's what I'm going to go with there.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Zaven Collins. I think he's out of Tulsa. But yeah, he's a linebacker. Like, I just think they need a little bit more help on defense. Running game is great. Great wide receivers. I mean, Baker's Baker. You're not replacing Baker here.
Mm-hmm.
Secondary is great. They have good corners, and then they just got 2 great safeties this offseason. They got Jadeveon Clowney. They have Myles Garrett. Their linebacking core is the only place where I really thought that they needed to be improved. Really, they have a great roster, honestly. So Zaven Collins is my pick, and I think he can like come in and make a pretty big impact pretty early there.
That's a good pick. All right, so now on to the next pick, and this is very obvious. It's just a matter of like who's going to fall to them and who's going to be there. They have literally came out and just said, yeah, we're going wide receiver, guys. So, and they need it. They really need it. Luckily for them, I think this Elijah Moore kid is going to be a stud, and he falls to them at 27. I think it's a good pick for them, especially because of how deep this wide receiver class is.
Yeah, I don't know if I see them going wide receiver in the first round, just because of how bad they got. They didn't get burned by Marquise Brown, but
he's not.
They also have like other holes to fill on their defense now and their offensive line moving forward. Like with Orlando Brown just left. So here I have them going Greg Rousseau out of Miami. Again, a lot of people have him mocked to the Giants, but like that's a team that just loves defensive beasts, and I think that's what Greg Rousseau is. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's an interesting pick. You have seen him kind of fall out of favor with a lot of these professional analysts and stuff like that. He has fallen in the mock drafts. But yeah, that's an interesting pick, to be honest with you. I have later them going because they traded with the Chiefs to get the 31st pick, like you were just mentioning with Orlando Brown, which we got to go into that later. But yeah, so yeah, on to the Saints right now. I think the Saints, what do the Saints particularly need? They need cornerback, which is true, and they need wide receiver as well and some edge help. They need a lot of help. I think they're a weird team because I think they're good, but I'm a little confused with them, to be totally honest with you. I'm gonna go with. I just think Zaven Collins is rated too high for him to fall so much. I'm gonna go with him. I'm gonna go with Zaven Collins.
Okay.
Maybe a bad pick. I'm not sure.
No, I like it. It's a decent pick. I think I'm gonna go with Asante Samuel Jr. because I agree with this website. I haven't looked at it, but I think they need cornerback help, and Asante Samuel Jr. is the next best corner on the board for me.
Mhm.
Saints are a smarter organization. They've always had like a pretty good defense these last few years after being god awful in like Drew Brees' prime.
Yeah.
So yeah, they show up that cornerback slot at pick 28, and I think it's just a nice little solid pick.
I think it'd be pretty interesting, especially how do you feel about how low rated he is, especially on this website with him being 60?
I mean, that's like this website's kind of dumb. Like Najee Harris is 25. I don't think Najee Harris should go before like the middle of the second round.
Yeah.
So like even if you think prospects are good, like Najee Harris might be a better running back prospect than even Trey Lance is a quarterback prospect.
Yeah.
But like, so if you have people listed by prospects, it also depends on like how much teams need them, and every team needs cornerbacks all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so now on to this next pick with the Packers, and I'm a little concerned with my pick here, to be totally honest with you. I'm not really sure who I want to go with here. Between Landon Dickerson and – because I know, like, the big thing is, like, oh, they haven't gave him a weapon. They haven't given him a weapon. They haven't drafted a weapon in, like, forever. They haven't drafted a first-one wide receiver in forever. So I'm not sure if they break that mold. I know they love picking defense with their first-round picks. But I just don't really like any of these defensive players here, to be quite honest with you. So I'm gonna go a little crazy, and I think I'm gonna take Kadarius Toney. He's a really fast running wide receiver, something that is a little interesting. I know Devontae Adams is probably obviously a great wide receiver and a great fast wide receiver as well, but Kadarius Toney is like a speedster kind of guy. It's gonna get open for them, and they really don't have a great number 2 option. You might have what is that guy's name? Vasquez, something like that.
Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah, Valdez-Scantling. I mean, he's a good player as well, but he's not fantastic. So, and then obviously they have that kid, St. Brown, that I know Rodgers doesn't like that much. And they got that guy Lazard. So they have a lot of players. I just think Kadarius Toney would be a great wide receiver for them to pick up, especially just how fast he is.
Yeah, I like Kadarius Toney too. I really wanted to go like Rondell Moore here, the little short, super fast guy, like little gadget player from Purdue. I think that would just like bring a completely different dimension to the offense that they just don't have. Like Devontae Adams is awesome, but he's not really a speedster. No one on their team is really a speedster except St. Brown, but St. Brown can't catch, which is tough. So, but then I read this article about how like the Packers GM like just hates short people. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, it's just, he just hates short people and especially short players, apparently.
Yeah.
So I'm switching up my tune. Again, I'm thinking Elijah Moore.
You could go more. You can go more still.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Elijah Moore. You saw AJ Brown, you saw DK Metcalf. Like, Ole Miss has been put those guys out, and I think that makes Elijah Moore look a lot better, especially because those guys are always out there saying he's a beast. But I don't know if that's true. They could just be gassing up their boy. Kadarius Toney's another great player, but I just don't see the Packers going with that sort of wide receiver. I think Elijah Moore. And if it is Rondell Moore, I'm going to be a little tight.
As far as your little person thing, you thought you had some inside scoop there. I would be surprised. Elijah Moore I have going earlier, so yeah, but I think that's a great pick for him in general. Do you think this is gonna be the Packers like first time in almost Aaron Rodgers' whole career where they go first round wide receiver?
Yeah,
because how angry he's been.
Bro, Aaron Rodgers is gonna do some bad things to that organization if they don't draft a wide receiver. That guy, like the GM, better fear for his life. Aaron Rodgers is a bad boy. Aaron Rodgers might just say, you know what, I'm gonna become the Jeopardy guy full time now. Peace, boys. Have fun with Jordan Love.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely an interesting pick. I like that pick in general too. Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes because that pick is always exciting. And
it's gonna be hilarious.
I'm a huge part of my take fan. I love when like Big Cat makes fun of all the Packers players and stuff like that because he hates the Packers. He's a huge Bear fan. So I think this should be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. Okay, now on to the Bills, and I'm going to do something that we're going to disagree on. I'm going to take I'm between Travis Etienne and Najee Harris. I just think they need a running back so badly. I mean, obviously, they don't have running backs, their top need, but I think they need a running back really badly. I think that's like the last thing that is going to make that Bills offense so dynamic. And my girlfriend used to go to Clemson, so I watched a lot of Clemson games, and I also watched Clemson destroy my Notre Dame. So I'm going to go Travis Etienne here. I think the kid's a baller, and I think it's a great pick for them.
I actually agree there that they're going to go Travis Etienne.
Oh,
Um, I've just been seeing I go to school in upstate New York and I live around a bunch of Bills fans. My friends who are Bills fans know I love football, so they send me like a bunch of stuff. Everything coming out of there seems like they're taking Travis Etienne. Zach Moss is fine. Devin Singletary's fine. Travis Etienne is a game changer. He's a home run. He's a
yeah,
home run hitter. He's a super athletic running back. Like adding Najee Harris to that backfield, you just have another Zach Moss and Devin Singletary.
good point.
Travis Etienne is actually really good and he's actually really fast. And like Devin Singletary's 4.6, where he can't break a yard over 20 yards, break a run over 20 yards, is not going to be the same problem when you have Travis Etienne. And at the end of the first round, like again, you get him on that extra year of the deal. So I think it's just a smart pick for the Bills on a really good roster. If they don't do that, I think they go somewhere defense. They locked up all their boys on the offensive line really again for this year. So I think Travis Etienne's a good pick.
I think that'd be the best pick in general for them because, again, like we were saying, like that's the last thing on their offense that makes that offense truly dynamic. I mean, they have really solid wide receivers. Obviously, they had the most receiving yards in Stephon Diggs, my boy on my fantasy team, dynasty team, and then you have a top 5 quarterback in Josh Allen. They brought in Jacob Hollister. I think could be a solid piece for them. They have like that big Knox kid as well. So yeah, I think Travis Etienne is the best player for them there at that point. All right, on to the Ravens pick, which was given to them by trading away Orlando Brown to the Chiefs. Like we were saying before, what a move by the Chiefs. I think it's an amazing move here. But who do you think the Chiefs are going to take here, or the Ravens?
I think Christian Barmore. Again, like that's just so Ravens. It's just what they do. They D-line, linebackers, defense. It's the Ravens way. Lamar Jackson can win games and win almost every game if he can keep and let him run with a lead. And the best way to do that is not give up any points. I know I went double defense, I think, with the Ravens.
I think the defense, yeah.
Yeah, I just think that's what they're going to do and try to pick up a wide receiver in the second round. This wide receiver class is pretty deep. And I don't know. I'm happy for them here. That's a great pick. Christian Barmore's a beast, and he's going to be a big run stuffer up the middle.
I think Christian Barmore is also stud. I have him going to the Browns. I think that's how good he is. I think that's a really good pick if he can fall to the Ravens. So I'm going to do something similar with you. I'm going to go with Azeez Ojulari. He is supposedly a pretty good player. He has some people had him going to the Giants, which I would not be thrilled about, obviously, because I have him going 31st. But I think he's kind of fallen a little bit. We're going to the 31st. I think he's a really solid player, and I think it's kind of like exactly what they need. They don't really have a great defensive end. They tried Yannick Ngakoue for a try, and that didn't really go out too well. And I don't really know who their other defensive end is in general, so I think that's the best player for them.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I like that.
Okay, now on to Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay, to be totally honest, was probably the hardest pick for me. I don't know who they're going with here. I'm going to go with Jamin Davis. They don't really need a linebacker, though. And they don't really need an edge.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can go first.
Okay, you go first.
Right. Landon Dickerson out of Alabama, offensive lineman. Like, kid's a beast. It's kind of between like him and Alex Leatherwood. Looks like Alex Leatherwood, like according to most other mocks, is going top of the second. Landon Dickerson is just like he's 6'6", like 330 or something. Like he's just an absolute hog molly.
Yeah. He's
got good hands. He played for Alabama, like Alabama lineman. You just know what you're getting. And I think he's a great pick. And I think the Bucs, like, where else are they going to improve? Like, unless you see them taking, like, not if once ETN goes, I don't see them taking a running back anyway. Not that they need to. Like, they have Rojo and King Lenny. Wide receivers are good. Defense is all good. Great corners are gone. Shore up the offensive line. Make sure Tommy stays on his feet. You know he loves that. And, yeah.
Damn, I don't want to agree with you. I want to change it up a little bit. I think you have a solid point there, to be totally honest with you. So they're finalizing your draft over here on the right. Now we got to do my draft. I think you're probably right with offensive line. I think offensive tackles are always better. I think Cosme is a pretty good player. I'm going to go with Samuel Cosme here. I agree with you. You're right. They They have a really good defense. I don't really see any cornerbacks going really there for them in general. I know there's Eric Stokes. Austin's pretty high on Eric Stokes. I know he's a pretty solid player. So yeah, I think that's probably the best move for them. Just try to go offensive tackle. And I think they're honestly at a point. I think their team is so good to where I think they're just at a point where they can just literally go best player available and just do whatever they want. I think that's kind of where they're at. But yeah, obviously this is where me and Liam are at, and so we agree on the first four. Or no, we have a little bit of difference. So there is some difference here. There is definitely some variation. I'm really looking forward to seeing who has the more accurate team. And obviously, guys, like, let me know. Who do you guys think? Who do you think did the best? Who do you think has the best lineup here? And what do you think, Liam?
I mean, obviously, I think it's me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that, like, I kind of worked the draft out so, like, a player would fall to a team that needs that position. But, like, every team was taking a player that they need. So in my head, it makes a lot of sense. But in real life, those teams are trying to screw one another over.
Yeah.
It's incredibly hard to get more than, like, 5 or 6 of these right. And we already have, like, the top 3 locked in. If I get 3 more right, it'll be a great day. Yeah, I'm just excited to see the draft, honestly, and it feels like the NFL is back a little bit.
I know. I cannot wait to see the drafts in general too. I mean, to be totally honest with you, I think. Obviously, I want to remind everyone too. This Justin Fields pick is not to the Panthers; it's to the Patriots. Just like this is the same thing here. This is not to the Patriots; it's to the Panthers. Michael Parsons to the Panthers. But yeah, I think this would be great. I cannot wait to see the draft. I love the draft, especially the first round. I think it's tons of fun. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens. I think you're right. A lot of, like, once you, like we were talking, like once you get past like the top 10, most of it's just throwing darts at a board and having no idea with your eyes closed. I mean, really, honestly, you have no idea really where you're going.
Yeah, and I think just to touch on, like, me having Kyle Pitts falling as low as I do to 8 or 7, or 8, I guess. Like, I could never see that happening for, like, the best, everyone considers the best player in the draft, but it's a tight end, which is, like, not usually even a first-round position at all.
Yeah.
And then, like, half the teams in the top of the draft have decent tight ends already. So it was weird. I don't really feel great about it. But, yeah, we'll figure it out. I'm just excited to see some football news that's not just, like, complete BS all the time with coaches trying to lie to us.
Yeah, and players trying to lie to us, and like things trying to be just, like put out in general, like show that you're right. Like Justin Fields has been thrown through the ringer here. They told me it's like epilepsy, and they were like, does he really want to win? Like all this crap, like, and they were like, does his teammates like him? It's like, yo, what are you guys talking about? Like, what is going on right now? So it's ridiculous. I do really feel bad for the kid. I hope he does land up in a good team. I do like him a lot. I've been following him ever since he was a senior in high school, watching him on QB1. I watched him during Elite 11 go against Trevor Lawrence, who he actually beat. Just want to throw that one out there. And yeah, I think he's a really good player in general. I'm looking forward to see what happens. And you're right. I cannot wait to see and to actually just go over like picks and just to see who the Giants get too. It's been such a long process. And sometimes I honestly wish this was like a week earlier. It's just so long.
Guys, for people listening to the channel, like, by the way, whoever the Giants take, like, we're going to be all in within like 10 minutes of seeing the pick. We're going to be like, that was actually the world's best pick. And then if he's not like an all-pro by like week 8, we're going to hate him.
Yeah.
It's just how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it is. And I wouldn't want it any other way. But no. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Liam. Do you have anything to say before we go?
No, I think I'm good. I had a lot of fun.
All right. Sweet. All right. Peace out, guys.